We are on set. Podcast 2. Not pumped. Okay, so nutrition. Yeah, today's topic is nutrition. Last podcast was the athlete life, and now you will be interviewed about nutrition.
Yeah.
So a little bit about yourself, background on nutrition.
So my name is Marielle. So my background, I guess, in the fitness and nutrition industry, I've been a personal trainer for 5 years and a nutritionist for about a year. I want to say about a year. But I'm a sports nutritionist. So I'm not a dietitian. So basically I can treat people in the realm of sport. But if someone has like a medical condition, say maybe they need to lower their cholesterol, or maybe they have a heart condition, or they have diabetes, that's when a dietitian has to step in. So I'm in the realm of sport, helping with performance, fat loss, body composition. A dietitian is medical related. So that's the difference between me, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you commonly questions of, I guess, any maybe athlete, any general population person trying to lose weight, just general questions. And one of them is, what do you see common with diets? Like, in general, with people with weight loss or performance, what do you see the most common as soon as you meet a client?
Okay. The most common things that I see when I meet, I'm going to say general pop because it's very minuscule that you will work with an athlete. So I'm going to say general pop. So most of the time when I meet a normal person, they are either under eating or not being consistent enough at what they have been doing. So they might be jumping from keto to low carb to fasting. You know, they're jumping all over the place and not being consistent with one methodry.
Okay, now you mentioned under eating. Define that more into context, because my under eating would be not meeting my macros versus someone who's very under eating so they can try and lose weight.
Yeah. So it is just super common that when you start a weight loss phase or campaign or a journey, that we just assume that we need to eat 1,000 calories, or we need to eat under 1,000 calories, and that's for some reason like the magic number that everyone goes to for some reason. It's probably more so a society thing that's just been drilled into our heads. So when you're consuming a very small amount of food, and just say you're Bob, you know, Bob's a male in his 30s, trains 4 days a week, is quite active in his, you know, general week, has a sedentary job, but make sure that he walks around, etc. Say, for example, that Bob is only eating 1,200 calories per day. Well, I know, obviously, I need to have his weight and his height and things like that to get those predictions. But even just from that general information, I know that he's under eating. When you're under eating, your body cannot even think of or even start the process of fat loss, of increasing muscle mass, of increasing performance. You have to remember that you need food to fuel processes in the body. If you're only giving your body enough food to process just general well-being, to breathe, to eat, to digest food, to move, if you're only having enough calories that only just suffice those tasks, you can't expect your body to then focus on the other things, the fat loss and muscle building and the performance. It just won't happen.
It's basically shutting down and saying, hey, look, I'm just trying to survive.
Yeah. And unfortunately what happens is that you go on a low calorie diet, or you're under eating, and it becomes in a vicious circle. So you restrict yourself so much that you know, you have a week where you're like, I am doing everything right. You know, I'm eating lettuce. That's all I'm eating. You know, I'm eating 1,000 calories. I'm doing these huge cardio sessions where I'm burning 500 calories. You do that for a week, and then you either binge and your body is like, oh my God, I'm finally getting food. It's not the carbs that people are eating in maybe that binge, but it's because they're just getting an amount of food that their body is not used to and doesn't really know when it's going to get that amount again. So you'll either, like I said, binge and you'll, you know, ruin your progress, or if you have even, you know, more self-discipline, you'll restrict your calories even more, and then you just, you know, it's a slow spiral down into, you know, screwing up.
So
so
do
many
good,
processes.
bad,
Yeah.
goes back down. Do good, bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You reassess. Okay, well, you know, obviously I'm not losing weight. The logical thing to do is, I need to cut my calories. I need to increase my training. No, you need to nurture and nourish your body.
I see that.
Yeah.
I was kind of like that.
You were very much like
yeah, I was
that.
very much like that.
But that, I mean, that's the two common things. So the under-eating, not being consistent enough, even if they are doing good. And I guess that comes into the more detail with the under-eating. Yes.
Well-
rant over.
I guess that could skip a couple questions and go to, does eating more make you gain weight?
It really depends in what context. Okay, so whenever you are in, again, a fat loss, if we're talking fat loss campaign, you do need to be in a deficit to lose body fat, okay? But there's so many other factors that contribute to that. So if you're already under eating and you, again, just say you've been on 1,200, 1,000 calories for a long period of time, and then you dramatically increase your calories to maybe 1,800 calories, 2,000 calories per day,
Yeah.
you will gain body fat and body weight, because initially, again, your body is sort of, I don't want to call it starvation mode, but it's the closest thing that makes sense for people. It's getting out of that starvation mode, so it's going to hold on to a lot of food. It's not going to store it as fat straight away, but it's just going to hold on to it and try and utilize every little bit of it. So yes, it can make you gain weight. However, if you're smart, what you'll do is you'll slowly increase your food.
Yeah.
Just slowly increase your food.
You don't want to shock your body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, there are diets called reverse diets, recovery diets, and they basically work with, you know, an athlete or maybe someone from the general population that has been under eating for a period of time. For example, a good example is bodybuilding. So bodybuilders will, and even CrossFitters too, bodybuilders will be on a certain amount of food, and when they get into the 12-week prep, they'll start to go on a deficit. So they'll go on a deficit, they'll be lowering their calories, they have their show day, and then they need to pick the calories back up. But they want to make sure that they're gaining minimal body fat from being on very, very low deficit. So it may have taken them 12 weeks to get down to that amount of calories, and obviously the low body fat percentage. It's going to take about the same time it took them to get into that position to get out of it.
Okay.
So it's a really slow process, especially if you're dealing with women as well, because unfortunately women, our bodies just think we're meant to carry babies, repopulate the planet.
Yeah.
That's just how our bodies work, you know. When women especially start eating low calories, we can do a lot of damage to our hormones, a lot of damage. And our hormones, especially for females,
Like reproductive wise or hormones, like
yeah, I mean, well,
Everything.
hormones cover so much. So whether
Yeah.
it be reproductive, whether it be mood or energy, the way that your period, your menstrual cycle, the way that you mobilize fat stores, the way that you perform. Unfortunately, females, we are a bit more complex, and when we do get down to those scary numbers, as far as low calorie, we can sacrifice a lot of our health and well-being. But yeah, so it really depends on what context, but again, it's a slow process, and you can get out on the better side if you are eating low calories and you want to increase your food. You just have to do it slowly, and most of the time it's going to help if you're doing it with a professional. That way they can obviously take progress measurements, calipers, DEXA scans, and things like that.
More accountability to see you're on the right track, or make adjustments if.
Yeah, obviously, you know, if you don't know enough, a general pop or even an athlete won't know, do I increase my protein? Do I increase my fat? Do I increase my carbohydrate?
Well, speaking of fat, that brings me to keto.
Okay.
Keto, so would you recommend the keto diet with a CrossFitter? And I say that because I'm a CrossFit coach and I've been doing this for already 7 years, and I've seen many kinds of diets, and I have my opinion on keto, but like, let's hear yours as far as performance and results.
Okay.
Keto and CrossFit.
So, I think, first of all, there's a time and a place for every single diet. Whether it's keto, it's low carb, it's high protein, it's fasting, whatever the case would be, they're tools, and you have to make sure that you're aligning that tool with the project that it needs to be used, so to say. So when we look at a ketogenic diet, so basically a ketogenic diet is a very, very low carbohydrate diet, high fat, high protein.
Explain. I'm going to check the camera still on.
Check it's still on. So a ketogenic diet, basically what you do is that you strip your body of glycogen stores.
Okay.
Glycogen comes from carbohydrates. It's your body's favorite type of fuel to be used. When you strip your body of glycogen stores, your brain will then send down ketones. These ketones are really good at mobilizing and using fat for fuel. So that's pretty much how keto works. The sort of downside with keto is that obviously it's minimal carbohydrates. I'm talking like under 20 grams of carbohydrates per day, and
that's like an apple. That's like half an apple.
You will, just from some of the vegetables that you eat, you will consume those carbohydrates quickly. So maybe I'm going to say under 20 grams, maybe 20 grams for a female, at least under 40 grams of carbohydrates for a male. If your sole purpose is fat loss, then ketogenic is a great diet to do, again, for a period of time. Because you also have to look at it, is it sustainable for your lifestyle? Is it going to bring you joy? Is it going to bring you variety? Not eating any carbohydrates isn't going to bring anyone joy.
It'll cause stress. It'll cause... I'll talk about stress a little bit.
Exactly. So the ketogenic diet, because it is quite particular, you know, you have to be very careful with what you're eating and things like that. When you apply it to CrossFit, the main fuel source for CrossFit, because of the intensity and volume that you train at, the main fuel source is carbohydrates, okay? Because you need to really push your body.
So then why are people scared of carbs?
Well, to answer the first question, like ketogenic and CrossFit, they don't really align. It really depends on what you're wanting to get out of your CrossFit. If you want fat loss, then sure, ketogenic and CrossFit would be a match. But don't expect to be making any PBs really anytime soon. You will, struggle with your strength and your
energy.
Yeah. So, I mean, by means, if you're just happy to focus on fat loss and really sort of stay, not at that sort of lower end of the spectrum as far as performance, then that's great. And don't get me wrong, there are some athletes out there that support keto and they can train, on minimal carbohydrates and still do,
Well, I would assume that would be more mental at that point.
And it's conditioned, your body adapts to things. So by the time they get to that sort of position with that diet, the body would have adapted, but I guarantee at the first, few months or even few years, it would have been tough. If you're looking for more performance of CrossFit, more performance and more body recomposition. So body recomposition means increasing muscle mass and decreasing fat. So if anyone refers to that, that's what it means. So
lean out.
Leaning out and shaping your body at the same time.
Okay.
So if you want body recomposition and performance, you need to have carbohydrates in your diet. You really do. So if that's what you're looking for, a ketogenic diet will not fit that goal of CrossFit.
Okay. So then you're saying carbs more so because of the energy it provides, or what other means would you say carbs is important?
Yes, energy, recovery, and yeah, pretty much it. The fuel that's going to push you through, and the recovery that's going to help as well.
Okay. Which is what you need for CrossFit.
Yes.
If you don't have recovery, then how do you expect to perform the next day?
Exactly.
To push your body past its limits to
Exactly.
make the changes that you want.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that answers that. So then why are people scared?
Of carbohydrates?
Yeah.
People are scared of carbohydrates probably because society, more so than anything, in like the 80s and the 90s, it was, everything had to be low fat. Then the fads come out where it's no sugar, and then the fads come out and it's ketogenic. And
it was all protein.
Yeah. So I have been told so many times that I can't eat carbohydrates, they make me fat. No, being in a surplus of food, so eating too much food for what you are doing, will make you gain weight.
Yeah.
Carbohydrates, unless you have a problem with insulin. So insulin is a hormone that basically shuttles off glycogen, so glucose into the muscles. So if you have a problem where you have insulin resistance, maybe some form of diabetes, polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS.
Thyroid?
Thyroid actually. Yes, if you have a thyroid problem, you can increase your insulin resistance, so your body's not able to process carbohydrates as effectively, but there's not an excuse.
Yeah.
Because I have met so many people that have conditions, and you just need to retrain your body. And there's but there's definitely ways in which you can increase your insulin sensitivity, where your body actually utilizes carbohydrates more effectively. What's really common is that we go on these low carbohydrate diets for a really long time, okay? We just assume the carbohydrates are the enemy. Then people will maybe go on holidays, or maybe they'll just start eating carbohydrates. Because you've restricted carbohydrates from your diet for so long, it doesn't know how to process it effectively.
Yeah. So it's going to store it?
It's not necessarily going to store it straight away, but it's going to make you it's going to change your mood. It's going to make you feel shitty, it's going to make you feel heavy, and it's going to make you feel bloated. And just because people experience those three symptoms, they
say no.
assume.
Yeah.
Exactly. Where it's like, no, carbohydrates isn't the enemy here. You're the enemy.
Yeah.
Because
you're restricting, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not saying that you need to go eat a cup of rice with every single meal, but you need to have carbohydrates in your diet.
Yeah.
So I think that's why people are scared of carbs.
Or just misinformed.
Yeah, they are. Just misinformed massively. And, never take the advice of someone on Instagram that has no credentials, that has no education. And that's what we do. We follow influencers that...
Yeah, they look fit, so they have to know what they're saying.
Yeah. They probably have a coach.
Yeah.
So that's well informed,
Yeah.
and has that knowledge. So you just have to be careful of where you're getting your information from.
Okay. Well, since we were talking about keto and CrossFit, would you base particular diets with particular fitness? Like, for example, someone who's just strictly running, would you have them on a different diet versus someone who's doing CrossFit, or someone who's just cycling? Or
yes and no. Like, there are certain diets that will be more effective for certain sports, sure. It would probably come down under, they need to be under like a certain weight class.
Okay.
So if you wanted to say, CrossFitters, they don't have to be under a weight class, so a high carbohydrate, high protein diet is, I think, recommended. Well, from the studies and things I've read and whatnot, people I've worked with, is recommended. If you're in boxing, you know,
You have
again,
to, yeah.
you know, maybe if or in powerlifting, if you have to get under a certain weight class, then you need to look at, you know, what, not phase, but how close the competition is coming to you, so that you can adjust your diet. Marathon runners, they definitely need carbohydrates.
Yeah.
They definitely need carbohydrates. Bodybuilders, again, they might have a high carbohydrate diet to begin with, and as they diet down, they might need to lower their calories. So it depends on the event and what they need to do.
And their goal too, which brings me to my next point. Goals. I know we can compare this between me and the general population. So goals, not at the moment, but before, when I was competing, was performance.
Yeah.
And now I'm leaning more towards the aesthetic. So the way my body's looking, the way I want to change it.
Yeah.
How would that differ with diet?
Oh, massively. So, you know, if you're training for performance, then you need to think of fuel. That's what you need to think of when you're training for performance. Yeah. Fuel, or it can be dieting down, like we just explained before. When you're going for aesthetics and also performance, a lot will come to do with timing of your food as well to maximize performance.
Yeah.
If you're looking for more aesthetics or body composition, then we need to look at more so controlling and consistency. So, you know, controlling meaning that you're hitting a certain macronutrient intake per day, and maybe you're sitting, you know, around your maintenance phase. Okay, you're not in a surplus on certain days because your training volume or intensity might be higher.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would be small changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the best way I can put it is, the more you do, the more you would need to eat.
Correct.
And a lot of people see it the other way.
Yes.
The more they do, the less they want to eat.
Yes.
But it's hard. You can't make your body perform with no food.
Exactly.
So, and it's crazy how it goes like hand in hand. So the more you eat, the better you are performing, which means more weight loss, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you push yourself harder while you train, you're going to burn more calories. You're also going to create better muscle quality. Muscle will burn fat by itself just to sustain itself. And then you got the afterburn effect. It's like EPOC.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's like exercise post. Anyway.
Yeah.
EPOC. You can Google it. It's basically, you know, within after resistance training, same thing, resistance training, your body will keep burning fat to fuel recovery for about 24 to 48 hours after that.
Okay.
So you need to be eating food to fuel these processes. They can't just happen by themselves.
No.
You know, like that, it doesn't work like that.
Well, that just means eat your carbs.
Eat your carbs.
Fasting, you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Now that we're on diets, what are your thoughts on fasting?
Do you know what? I think fasting, again, has a time and a place. So I have met individuals that have practiced fasting because of their work time frame. So, you know, they work a really busy workload, and for them to sit down and eat really is just not possible.
Yeah.
So they might fast in the morning and then they'll have their first meal at lunchtime. And hey, that's what you want to do, that's okay. Again, I also met people that have conditions, so they might be having some stomach conditions.
Oh, okay. That just works better for them.
Yeah, so they're just trying to basically rule out, you know, certain triggers that may cause inflammation, things like that. Fasting does have some pretty cool studies behind it as far as like the mental effects of it, the clarity and things like that, but only for a period of time.
Yeah, it's not something you can sustain.
Exactly. So a lot of people as well don't follow fasting correctly too. So if I was to get technical, so basically I like fasting, but I kind of think it should be called restricting. So fasting is basically, I believe in medical terms, is
3 days?
well, no. So this is what gets So fasting can actually mean just restricting carbohydrates because it has a insulin response.
Oh.
Okay, a protein, but obviously a protein won't have a big insulin response, and neither will a fat, but a carbohydrate will. So that is actually fasting.
So keto.
Yeah. So
You're ketoing.
so that's why I'm like, fasting should be called restricting because you're essentially restricting all foods. But anyway, that's just my rant. But with fasting, people don't do it properly. So they have a black coffee. They might have sugar-free Dr. Pepper or something rather.
Yeah.
That has sweeteners in it, and that can cause an insulin response. They might have a handful in nuts and things like that, and they just don't do it correctly. And again, they're not informed enough about it. So
it's something not to do long term.
No, it's definitely not something to do long term.
Or CrossFit.
No, not CrossFit. Because you have to remember, like, especially keto diets, they do cause brain fog, and the last thing you want is to have a barbell above your head, and if you for a second
Blackout. That's just
don't know what to do. You have a motor function, just nothing. So you have to be careful.
yeah, that's why we have waivers. Then we were talking about goals. Liquid diets, I guess if you want to touch upon that.
Yeah, I mean, again, they have a time and a place. More so when I do see if you can cook food and make food and you can prep food, then do that.
Yeah.
Liquid diets, I think, are only not only, but I think are beneficial for people that are very time poor. So, again, if you're working and you really don't get a break, but you need to eat, then of course.
Like a replacement.
Of course,
Yeah.
You need to get something in there. So if we're talking about, liquid meals, then definitely get it in you if you need those calories for sure. Just be careful because a lot of your meal replacements will have soy in there. And soy is just really bad at increasing estrogen, but the wrong type of estrogen, estrogens that basically just hold on to more fat. So just have to read the labels. You can ask me.